Hey, what's up you guys? It's Victoria. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you about a really important topic, and that's how to sound confident in English, even if you don't particularly feel confident in English. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. So if I were to tally up all the reasons that I hear that people work on their accent, the number one reason by far would be to feel and sound more confident. Now, I think there are definitely different kind of ways we can tweak feeling confident, sounding confident, and looking confident. But in today's video, I really want to focus on sounding confident. So we can imagine that you're speaking on the phone with someone and they can't see you, but they can obviously hear you. So these are going to be 5 simple tricks that are really effective in making you sound more confident, even if you have to fake it. So the first trick is don't uptalk. So uptalk is when you raise your pitch at the end of a sentence when in fact you should have dropped your pitch because what you said was a declarative statement. So for example, if I'm saying to you, my name's Victoria, da 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 da. That's just a statement, it's a fact, and so you can feel or hear that my pitch is dropping off at the end. It's going into my lowest comfortable register. However, if I was to say that with rising intonation, it would sound more like a question. It would sound like, my name's Victoria. So there are groups of native speakers who uptalk all the time, and they tend to be younger individuals, and they tend to be females, though not always. However, I don't recommend that you speak this way unless you have a really specific reason for which you're doing so, because research has shown that within 0.2 seconds, your listener's brain has determined that you're not confident if your intonation goes up when you're saying a declarative statement. So super simple trick to keep in mind and just to gain awareness of is to make sure that you're not going up in pitch. Even if you're not confident, just say it as if you mean it and it's gonna sound much better. Because you don't want to sound like this. This is a telephone. My name's Victoria. You don't want to talk like that. Have confidence in what you're saying. Drop your pitch at the end. So the second trick is to master those words that give you trouble. So let's say, for example, you have a job title that you actually find difficult to pronounce. This means that every single time someone asks you what you do, if you're not able to say it confidently, you're going to totally change into a different person who's kind of hiding, right? Or who's embarrassed or self-conscious. So identify those words and really focus on mastering them as quickly as possible. To give you guys a quick example, a few years back, I worked with a young man and he worked in chip technology. However, he didn't pronounce chip correctly. He was a native Spanish speaker, and instead of chip, his ch became a sh and his I became a I. So when I first met him, actually, he said that he's responsible for sheep technology. And my brain heard sheep. And this is apparently a problem that he had often. And before he told me that, I'm like, I'm not here to judge. Okay, he works with sheep. Like, I didn't really know what that entailed, but massive miscommunication. But you can see how that would lead to jokes and lots of other situations that are just totally uncomfortable because a chip and a sheep are 2 colossally different things, right? So if you want to work on mastering a specific word, what I recommend you do is pop that word into youglish.com. I know I've talked about Youglish so many times, but I'm a huge fan of it. So listen for 10 minutes, 3 times a day, to as many different instances of other people saying your word as possible. And I almost guarantee you that in 1 or 2 or 3 weeks tops, you're gonna say this word entirely differently. One thing that I'll add really quickly is that if your goal is North American English, then definitely click that box that says US English, because if you're hearing Australian English and British English and American English all mixed together, then it won't be nearly as effective towards reaching this goal. So the third trick is to use sentence stress appropriately, or just to use it at all. So English is what's called a stress-timed language, and many languages of the world are stress-timed and many are syllable-timed. But what stress-timed means is that certain words are more important than others. So when I'm speaking to you right now, certain words are going to pop out more acoustically. And this isn't just because I'm super enthusiastic. If someone is super enthusiastic, then they're going to do this even more. But even if I'm talking with really average levels of enthusiasm, you're going to hear these big acoustic differences depending on if I'm stressing a word or leaving it alone or reducing it. If you don't use stress when you're speaking, you definitely risk sounding uninterested, unenthusiastic, and totally non-confident. So for example, let's say I'm telling you a simple anecdote. Let's say I'm saying, this weekend I went to check out some new cars because we are thinking of buying a new car. I know I sound ridiculous. I sound like a robot. I can hear that. But so obviously I don't think any of you guys sound like that. However, it's an extreme example of not stressing words. So contrast that to, yeah, so this past weekend we were actually looking for a new car because our current car, it's getting a little bit old and I think it's time to get a new one. So those words that I've emphasized, that's not just because I'm super enthusiastic, it's because English works this way. So if you especially come from a language like French or Spanish that's syllable timed, you really want to get in touch with these differences and start to use stress to your advantage so that you sound friendly and colorful and confident. So the fourth tip for sounding more confident is to relax your facial muscles, okay? So many people that I work with have a lot of tension in their articulators and their muscles, and you really just don't sound the same. So for example, let's say I was gonna say something to you guys, and I know I'm being ridiculous right now because I'm barely moving my face. I know it's an extreme example, but think of a less extreme example. If everything is really tight up here, you're not going to be able to project your voice. That lack of kind of fluidity in your muscles is going to be very acoustically apparent. So relax your lips, relax your jaws, relax your shoulders, make sure everything is moving, is relaxed, and you're gonna sound much, much more confident in doing so and just much more pleasant to listen to in general. So tip number 5 is to have good posture. So sit up straight. This makes a really big difference in how you sound because the most effective muscle that we have for breathing is not our chest, is actually our diaphragm. So when we're slouched over, when we're sitting like this, we're putting a lot of pressure on our diaphragm and we're not allowing it to move freely, and hence we're not allowing it to work effectively. So if you want your voice to project, if you want to have natural kind of freedom, then you've got to be sitting comfortably upright. I say comfortably upright because I also don't want your shoulders up here and I don't want you back in an awkward way. So just sit in a way where everything, your facial muscles, your neck, your shoulders, where everything is upright, relaxed, and make sure that your feet are both on the ground and that you're not twisting or anything like that, because that also throws our body out of alignment. It affects our breathing, and our breathing very much affects how confident we sound. So that's it for today's video, you guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have other tips for sounding confident in English. I'd love to hear them, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.